Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Everybody, if you look back in history to cultures hundreds and hundreds of years ago, they would have somebody ready in the hierarchy when the person that was more close to the top ended their reign for whatever reason that would be. Somebody else would be thrust into that spot, and everything was fantastic. What about today? Are we doing that today? Are we getting our future leaders in the pipeline ready to take over, grooming them, if you will? We're going to talk about that today and how effective it can be and how you can set that plan in place. And he helps organizations with those plans all the time in terms of what he does and moving companies forward. C-suite executives, people who want to up their game in leadership. Josh Saterman is back with us on the program. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Steve. How are you doing?
Real good. Once I realized it was you because your hair is different today, I'm like, wait, who just showed up? Is it? Yeah, that is him. Okay.
The advantage of having long hair is I can do a tight bun, I can do the ponytail, or I can do it straight and all the way down. So today's a bun kind of day.
Gotcha. There's a guy in the bank that I go to that has longer hair, and he's got some kind of thing at the top that kind of holds it all in, and he has dark, very dark hair, and that thing is dark. You don't even know it's there. Like, I have to look and wait, oh, there's something holding his hair. Like, I would, because he's in the bank, if he would have let that go, his hair would probably go like all over the place at the same time.
Given summer and humidity or winter and dry, my hair might do the same.
Okay.
But it's one of those days that I thought, today is a glasses and bun kind of day. So
Gotcha.
That's what we're doing today.
And that was the other part. I didn't realize the glasses until you're now saying it. I was like, yeah, last time we got together, time before that, didn't see him. So anyway,
yeah.
Will your successor have a ponytail, long hair, short, doesn't matter? You need to have one. The pipeline for, call it, future leaders. The more and more I think about this, the more and more I find it very important. What are your thoughts overall?
There's a lot of depth to this topic. So it's critical. Let's just start there. Vital to the success of an organization is what we call succession planning. And succession planning is not only by position, it's across the organization. I've seen examples where heads of HR become heads of commercial. I've seen examples where people with English majors become CFOs. So I think what we have to consider is as leaders, you begin your career, 18 to 25, again, wide gap between the full industries that are out there in the world. Some go to college, some don't. Mm-hmm. Some go to med school, some don't, right? So, but the reality is let's just take 25 as an example. 25 to 65 is 40 years of career. So we can't think that our existing employees at the age of 31 are going to be the same people necessarily in the organization at 41. And yet we should be investing in them like they will be. And I'll explain a little bit why when we get into the crux of today. But pipeline, or I should say, pipeline succession planning, critical to an organization's success.
I'm going to share, and I've shared this before, but now I see this coming even clearer. I told you I'm with a men's group. It's exactly 1 year since I joined. It's been very impactful. It's a community and leadership group. And they're grooming all of us to take on leadership roles. In fact, I got a text last night, and the leaders were on a call, and they asked me to take on a community service leadership role for the tribe, the whole organization. And I'm thinking about it. I don't know if I have the bandwidth at this time, but there's always that view of the future, always looking ahead. Who's going to be the next one? Who should be the next person to go into that position? And you want it to be flawless when that takes place on both sides, right? Whether it's on the organization side, whether it's on the individual side. Like, imagine if somebody got tagged last minute. Hey, you know what? We need you to step up there right now. Just jump into that role. And if you're not ready, you're like, what do I do? A lot of stress, a lot of I guess imposter syndrome, that's where it could
Yeah,
begin from there.
yeah, yeah. I have I have a couple of models that we use. I'm taking the glasses off because I'm really thinking about this. I have a couple of models or a couple of suggestions, I should say, for folks to consider within succession planning. One is how and who are you hiring? Do you understand the skill sets, not just the job descriptions, but rather the technical and the critical skills required to do that job? And that doesn't start at C-suite. You know, just like we think or we say that STEM starts in middle school, right?
Hmm.
Whether it's science, math, art doesn't matter. You're perfecting your craft from as early as you decide to go into that field or into that industry. And yet, in the reality is that most programs or most organizations don't have necessarily built out mentor and sponsor programs.
Hmm.
And there's a difference there. So I think it's important to slow down before we speed up to say a mentor is somebody that you can lean on that has knowledge or experience that you don't, and you want to learn from that. I call this exercise the toolbox exercise. It's 6 boxes. Lord knows I probably didn't invent it, but I've been using it for years, almost honestly decades at this point, which makes me sound old, but I am. My birthday is every day, but I'm 44. So right, so 44 years old. I've been doing this for about 20 years ish. And I use this toolbox exercise consistently between technical skills and critical skills to understand where there are sharp tools, where there are dull tools, and where there are tools you don't have. So each person on my team goes through this exercise because where do they want
Hmm.
to go next? What are the sharp tools that will get them there? What are the dull tools they need to focus on to sharpen so that they have that strength, that extra muscle? And what are the tools they don't have that they need to have? And then you think about mentorship, like I just said, and you say, well, who has that? This person, that person, the other person, who has that? So mentorship is about partnership. It can be reversed. It can be the other way. It doesn't have to be, you know, proverbially or in old language, someone young and someone old. That's not really what we're looking for here. We're looking for a skill set, someone that has it and someone that wants to improve upon it.
Hmm.
Sponsorship is different. And I don't think organizations talk nearly enough about who's your sponsor. Who's the person that's reaching a hand back in my sunset as I share my sunset screen, right? Who's reaching a hand back, holding your hand and guiding you through a dark path to get you to the light? And what I mean by that is who's in the room advocating for you when you're not there? Who's the person saying this person has hidden talent and it's within these skill sets and we're not exploding, amplifying that opportunity? Who's the person that's saying it's okay if they make a few mistakes because let's lift them up versus push them down? So sponsorship is critical to pipeline
Hmm.
because whether or not, again, that person decides to stay with the company for 2 years, 20 years, or 40 years, the reality is that sponsorship carries with you for your full career life cycle. And that feeling you get of being a sponsor is all about paying it forward. It's all about creating positive engagement, positive culture in the workplace. I'll take a
Wow.
pause there because that's a starting point that I'm very passionate about.
I see the parallels to that group I joined because guess what? Somebody sponsored me. You are
That's right.
you are spot on, and that's how that organization works. Where an individual will say, "Yeah, you know what? They should be part of the group." You know, and they don't push anything, but you might want to think about joining. But somebody sponsored me. The gentleman who sponsored me has sponsored dozens of others since right around the mid 2000s, maybe '07, somewhere around there, because he wants to foster leadership and move the organization forward. Doesn't matter what type of organization it is. So let's look at that from both sides. You're in a company, you have a certain role in that company, whether it's leadership or management, whatever it might be. Should you always be looking for the next superstar? Should you intentionally identify who we got working here, what their skill sets are, what their potential is that they might not even know, and then bring that to their attention or the attention of others?
Yeah, I'm gonna actually. I love your question. I'm gonna expand on it in two ways, right? One is companies should 1,000% be identifying their top talent. The question is how do you do it? Because if you're running a function or you're the people leader and you're advocating for your person, that's great. That's a starting point. That's huge. That's sponsorship in a nutshell, right? And yet at the same time, how do we get cross-functional leadership involved? We want the person in finance singing the praise for the person in HR. We want the person in the sales organization commending the person in engineering. We want to make sure that as leadership teams or as function teams, that we're bringing best practices into how are we identifying top talent. And part of that is that we're still human. So as much as we try to make objectives clear and metrics clear and meritocracy clear, the word equity is about access. And so how do we make sure that we've got access to all different kinds of talent? The loudest person in the room or the person that is the number one salesperson may not be the best sales leader. They might not listen actively. They might not be seeking outside perspective from different types of folks in the workforce, workplace, or marketplace. They might not be leading down as effectively as they're leading up. How many times are going to an organization and hear, oh my gosh, they can talk to the CEO and sweet talk the CEO and yes them to death, but they can't lead their direct reports. And then we're coming in at that senior level of leadership trying to unlearn to relearn. And so from a very early step, when we developed Arrive, Drive, Thrive, what we did at Saterman Connect is we said, we've got to start earlier in the pipeline. We can't keep fixing, right, or addressing. We've got to be solution oriented from the start. And that's where the Arrive Academy came in for emerging leaders, for rising stars, for high potential. Is the whole purpose of Arrive Academy is to give folks the perspective of just because your boss isn't doing it for you does not mean that you should not be doing it for those below you, that those that are coming up in the pipeline in the ranks. So my first answer to your question, Steve, is absolutely address the top 10, top 20% of your organization. And the converse is true. To any organization, as harsh as this sounds, there's always a bottom 20%. And for those that might feel at times that you're in that bottom 20, it doesn't mean that you're wrong or you're bad. It might not be that you're the right butt in the right seat, or it might not be that that culture and the purpose that drives you are aligned. So it's important to consider that because you take on a job, it's like dating. Not every person you date is the right fit for you. Even if you date for a year, you might decide that something else is the right for you, right? So I don't love to use the word culture fit. We tend to use the word culture add. And the reason for that is yes, certainly there's an element to culture fit, but I don't want it to be used against somebody. Sometimes though, we have to also in the pipeline, we have to make room for others to join. We have to make room for others to be part of the process and part of the solution and part of the organization, because that's also investing in your pipeline.
Spot on there when you mention all of it, but especially the sales superstar. They might not have leadership skills. You might assume, oh, they're great with people. They'd be fantastic. No, maybe not. But they may be very effective in raising the numbers and connecting with clients, but maybe not with colleagues. The Arrive Academy, we haven't really gone into a ton of depth about that. Can you tell us about it and how it translates to what we're talking about today?
Yeah. When we wrote the book within 3 sections. And essentially those 3 sections are around arriving, driving, and thriving as a leader. We wrote Arrive with it's a very succinct section, robust, but it's the small set of chapters. Because essentially it's about your growth plan. It's about understanding the power of strength-based leadership. It's about understanding how you build like building blocks, the building blocks of your career. Essentially what I realized and what Nettie realized and what Gerald realized as we collaborated, right? And as Saterman Connect has led this charge into these academies and into these workshops, into these experiences grounded in coaching, is we realized that from a very emerging leader, somebody that has been an individual contributor and now is stepping into the manager role, age agnostic, industry agnostic, size of company agnostic, you now are responsible for somebody else's development. So how do you, using emotional intelligence, how do you have self-awareness and self-management for yourself, your own development? And through looking at that individual growth plan, how do you then pay it forward and then use those same techniques, skills, isms, right, to then also understand the power of your direct reports and what their capabilities. So we've developed a couple of tracks. Our main track is all around serving as an inclusive leader, right? Making sure you know how to interview, making sure you know how to engage folks in proper communication, the 5 effective C's of leadership, and developing your direct reports. We start there, especially in our open enrollment Arrive Academies, the academies we host, relatively speaking, monthly, because we want access for all. We want anyone really across the globe to have access into, I am now an emerging new rising star leader. I'm rising into the ranks of people leadership, people management. And this tool allows folks, whether your company supports it or not, to be part of this learning journey. We also do the same for internal organizations. So if companies come to us and say, we'd like to develop a management development program, or we want to develop some kind of leadership development program, right? We use Arrive, and then we use Drive, and then we use Thrive as that pipeline for leading self, leading others, leading teams, leading functions, and ultimately leading organizations. So we have different tracks for different purposes, and that gives a little bit of choice for both organizations and individuals to select the track that's right for them.
What would you say would be the most important tool for somebody who is in a leadership role, but truly wants to craft their skills in identifying who the next star is? Yeah, we can in our minds, you could think, Mike is real good. Jennifer's got a lot of what we're looking for, but maybe you're not 100% sure. What would you say are some of the, maybe the top 2 tools, tactics, techniques, whatever it might be within the academy for somebody who's in a leadership role to do a better job of figuring out who should go where?
That's an awesome question, Steve. A couple of things. One is we're not grounded in the technical skills of, are you the best engineer, the best salesperson, the best finance manager, fill in the blank. That's not what we do. And the reason for that is because most organizations know how to impart that knowledge if there's a gap, and they see that the gap can be filled. So the person has the capability, the person has the capacity, right? They know the conference, the MBA, the whatever the ism is to get to technical skills.
So I don't want you to jump in here, but I'm wondering if it's going to the EQ. The emotional intelligence. Is that what we're looking at? We're putting the spotlight on that. That is the...
Man, do you know me?
That's the key. Yeah, no, hey, listen, I'm living it. Listen, I just hired somebody for a role yesterday. They signed the agreement, and a part of this was done by giving them an assessment test and then mirroring what the results were based on the first interview. And you see the parallels, like, wow, these skills are good. These are, and that's just, I have a partner and he's better at this in terms of identifying sales and all of that, but it's all about the emotional intelligence.
It is. And, it's also all about the growth mindset. If somebody has the technical skills, and both are important, while we talk a lot about the leadership skills, the critical skills,
sure.
The reality is that both are important. You have to know how to do the job and get the job done, right? The question, though, is I can't teach. Nobody can teach. Nobody can teach somebody sense of urgency, positive attitude, genuine curiosity, the ability to anticipate the needs of the organization, the team, the function, the group. So there are things you can't teach. There are elements or factors you can't teach. How do you, in an interview, uncover that? And growth mindset, just like understanding more about the technical and the leadership skills, growth mindset is about, are you in an ever-present mindset of continuous learning? Carol Dweck is really the founder of this concept. She put it into words in this gorgeous book. So I have to give her the credit that's due. It has become one of our values as a company, because everyone has fixed minds. Everyone at some point says, oh, I can't do it. Or, oh my, that's human. That's human. Your ability to push past that and go into, no, I can learn this.
Mm.
Or I don't want to learn this, but what I want to do is hire folks around me that really understand this, elevate my leadership because the folks around me know how to do this. This is Lencioni's starting point of trust, right? How do you hire people as a leader that can raise up the team, raise up the organization? That's why organizations are not typically solopreneurs. It's not an individual. It's a bunch of folks, a bunch of people that bring their expertise into the room. I will say the hardest thing for emerging leaders, and even what I would call advancing leaders, those leaders, whether you're advancing vertically or horizontally, you could be the same position for 10 years. Hopefully you're a bit better at it year 8 than you were year 1, right? So it's not about always climbing vertically. Sometimes it's just owning your craft, just own it, right? But either way, you would like to think that across that time, you've had moments of ahas or learning. How do you share that? How do you teach that to others in your group? So I would offer growth mindset. I could talk about this for an entire podcast, but growth mindset is one thing. The second thing is really understanding how to assess within your group what are the needs of the organization, and either upskill somebody into it or hire into it. And both get you there in a sense, right? But when you're talking about pipeline, right? Organizations are constantly going through change. So to your point, brilliant point, EQ, self-management, self-awareness, relationship management, social awareness. Those two selves of self-awareness and self-management lead to the team dynamics of relationship management and social awareness. Critical to an organization's success. EQ, growth mindset, and really assessing what your talent needs in the organization to achieve its objectives.
It's so important. And you gave me an aha moment, and I'm living this right now. So very cool that it validates a lot. And again, we're just scraping the surface here on a lot of this. It goes deeper. The book has all the insight. You do. Fabulous talking with you today. It's funny that just how life aligns. Like, looking to hire somebody myself, and it went from skills to EQ. It really did. And I didn't expect it to, but you learn. Fantastic.
Right. Well, if anyone on the podcast would like a little bit more of an intro, reach out, because we'd be happy to share about the toolbox exercise and how to assess talent. This is what our organization does best.
And very effectively. How do we find you?
Saterman Connect, Saterman, connect.com. Saterman Connect on Instagram, soon to be TikTok, emerging TikTok, and certainly LinkedIn. And so, but our website is our marketplace. It's where you can sign up for the Arrive Academy. It's where you can learn more about the other various academies we offer. And you might even get to talk to me, which would be so exciting.
I look forward to it every week, and the website is outstanding in the insight and the clarity that it brings. And as you do too, it mirrors you. Josh, thanks so much for being here today and breaking this all down. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Steve.
We'll be right back.
Welcome to Arrive, Drive, Thrive, the podcast where leadership, culture, and growth come to life. I'm Josh Saterman, CEO and co-founder of Saterman Connect, an HR firm specializing in talent development, culture and engagement, and inclusive leadership. At Saterman Connect, we offer academies and workshops, e-learning, offsites, coaching, consulting, and more, all designed to elevate your leaders, teams, and organization. Want to learn more? Listen, watch, connect. Visit SatermanConnect.com and follow us on LinkedIn and Instagram. Let's explore how we can partner with you. Let's grow and connect together.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Let's go inside the mind of a 10-year-old.
I should have worn those earrings today. I like those earrings. Gabby has those awesome earrings. I need to ask her where she got those, but that's just what she would want me to do. I'll have Michaela ask her for me.
Buckle up, Sarah.
Yeah, but then Michaela will be like, why don't you just ask her yourself? That's just like Michaela.
Sarah, buckle up.
Michaela's such a great name. I wish I was called Michaela. There's like a dozen Sarahs in my class.
Hey, we're not hitting the road until you buckle up, honey.
Oh yeah, seatbelt. I forget sometimes because my brain is like busy, I wonder if there's pizza at school today.
Sometimes it can be tough to get through to your kids, but it's not impossible. Always make sure they're wearing their seatbelts, even on short drives. Remember, you have the keys, you have the power. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. Visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup for more information.